A continuation of the story An Unexpected Night at Freddy Fazbear's by Shannon Hitalia 96. Chapter 2. After a day off to be left alone with his conflicted, albeit perverted thoughts, Mike received a call from his boss, which inconveniently woke him up from his daily slumber. He quickly cleared his throat before picking up, trying to not sound too groggy. Apparently, the pizzeria had demoted a day guard for stealing extra pizza slices in the kitchen. So because he was being moved to the night shift, Mike was going to be promoted to the day shift. Great. Just what he wanted to deal with. A bunch of creepy, paranormal animatronics and sticky, bratty children. He was told that he would start working the next day, and to get there by 6 a.m. After he hung up, he flopped onto his back and stared up at the ceiling. The new job position now brought up a whole new set of questions. Would this mean Foxy would stay in his animatronic form more often? Would he keep his promise? Did he even mean those words when he said them? He sighed, realizing that none of that mattered. He was there to do his job, not to get his brains fucked out by a pirate animatronic. He changed his clock so his alarm went off in the morning as opposed to night, and got out of bed. The next morning he arrived at the pizzeria at around 5:57. Knowing about the horrific events that happened in there before 6 a.m., he sat and waited for the night guard to emerge from the building. Once he emerged, he got out of his car and retrieved the keys from the night guard. Unlocking the door, he went inside and began booting everything up. The lights, the stage, the shows, the works. Once he had finished, he had passed the entrance to Pirate's Cove on his way back to his office. His steps slowed to a halt before he slowly turned and entered the now abandoned room. Walking in there was like walking into an old house. The room had pieces of rubble laying everywhere. The chairs were old and frayed. The curtains were torn. And even the signs that bared the words, "Sorry, out of order," looked like an ancient relic. Mike climbed onto the small stage and brushed the curtains aside. After letting his eyes adjust to the darkness, he ventured further backstage until he came face to face with the 6-foot animatronic fox. He sat on the bottom step that led up to the deck of the pirate ship, slumped forward like he had been stabbed in the back. His eyes looked dull and lifeless, yet Mike could still see the faint glow of the LED lights inside of him. He walked forward and crouched a few inches away from the fox to examine him. Just as he suspected, the newly ripped fabric of the fox's non-existent collarbone was present. Mike felt a blush rise to his face as the events of the night came flooding back to him. He still had trouble convincing himself that he had been fucked by an animatronic human for just a day prior. Foxy suddenly snapped his head up and let out a hearty "Yarr!" This caused Mike to jump and fall backwards a few feet. The fox smirked and laughed as he stood up. "Yar, come on now, Mikey. You can't say you weren't expecting old Foxy to scare you, did ya?" he asked as he held out the blunt side of his hook to Mike to grab. Mike rolled his eyes and took a hold of Foxy's hook and hoisted himself off the ground. "I suppose not," he replied. He turned away to hide his blush. "So what be your reason for being here this late in the morning?" Foxy asked. Mike rubbed the back of his neck subconsciously. "I got moved to the day shift, so I'll be here later now." He suddenly felt a cold hand wrap around his waist, and suddenly, against the cold floor, I guess that means I won't be able to have much fun with ye anymore," Foxy purred. Mike shivered as he felt the fake breath of the animatronic ghost over his ear. He jerked himself away from Foxy, his face a beet red. "You ain't got lucky with me like you are now, you hunk of junk." "No way am I letting you down here," he said, shifting his eyes over to the towering animatronic. "Besides, broken or not, you have a job and need to stay in fox mode." The fox crossed his arms and sighed. "You're no fun, laddie," he huffed. Mike rolled his eyes as he stared to the exit room. He stopped and glanced back at the animatronic. "That doesn't mean it's not going to happen, ever. It means that it won't happen while I'm out in the party room." The fox's ears perked up as he started to smirk. Mike whirled around and pointed at him sternly. "And it won't happen while you're an animatronic." And with that, Mike stomped out of the room, a light blush painting his face as he heard the pirate's faint chuckle. Although his intention was to keep all of his thoughts off of the pirate and his sexy human form, Mike caught himself thinking about justice several times throughout the day. Foxy wasn't helping the situation either. Even though the show was labeled out of order, for whatever reason, the staff cleaned up and reopened Foxy's show that day. Crowds of excited children rushed into the room to see Foxy perform for the first time in years. Mike quickly stepped out of the way as 5 more snot-nosed brats ran past him into the room. It was his lunch break, so Mike had grabbed his turkey sandwich from the break room and sauntered over to Pirate's Cove to watch the fox perform. As he thoughtfully chewed his sandwich, Mike remembered back when he used to visit the place as a child. He remembered eagerly running into the Pirate's Cove and plopping down right up in front to get a good view of Foxy's show. He was forced out of his thoughts by the loud screeching of the mechanics that barely opened Foxy's curtains. The energetic fox ran out of the stage, and he was accompanied by the roaring applause of kids. "Ahoy, kids!" the pirate shouted gleefully. "Ahoy, Foxy!" the kids shouted in unison. "I apologize for not performing in ye while. I've been on a long journey, sailing across the 7 seas, searching for me pirate booty," the fox said, launching into his excuse for his absence. A young girl with long black hair raised her hand. Foxy's ears perked up and locked eyes with the child. "Aye, the little lass with the black hair. What be your name?" "Alina." The fox gave her a toothy grin. "Alina, what a great pirate name. Do ye have a question for old Foxy?" Alina nodded. "Did you find your pirate booty?" she asked. Foxy remained quiet for a second before locking his eyes on Mac in the back of the room, a proud smirk on his face. "Aye, lass, I found the best booty in all of the land." The only reason the children looked back was when they heard the sound of a young security guard chirking on his turkey sandwich, a bright red blush covering his face. The two fucked later that day. The end.